G'day there, trendsetters. Welcome to the third installment of a Hasidic reading of Robert Bly, where hopefully we're going to finish the fairy tale of the Lindworm, which is brought in Robert Bly's A Sibling Society. So let's do a quick recap, previously on Hasidic stories, to bring you up to speed. We're dealing with the Lindworm, who's this terrifying snake-like, dragon-like kind of worm groom, who has devoured up until now 12 princess brides. And until he gets married, the son of the king and queen can't get married. Until he's dealt with, until the parts of him that have been thrown out of the castle are processed, are unburdened, this relationship is doomed. It's going to be sabotaged from within. Who has stepped up to the plate to be the 13th bride? To save the whole scenario? To redeem the relationship and allow a marriage or relationship to take place? It's the 13th bride. It is the woodchopper's daughter, tapping into a simplicity, a devotion, with discipline and seder, process, and 13 attributes of mercy. If you were to correspond her to a Kabbalistic idea, I believe she would correspond to the Yud Gimel Tikkunei Dikna, the 13 strands of the divine beard, which is mercy, rachamim, channeled through Gevura, through seder, through discipline, through conscientiousness, industriousness, and planning. So this is who we're dealing with. And she has sought wisdom from the wise woman, representing wise consultants, elders, people we can rely on, and a Hasidic master, the Rebbe, the Nasi Hador, the leader, the tzaddik of the generation, the tzaddik Yisod Olam. And so armed with all of this, and her self-preparation that she's done, 8 months, she's tapped into the level of 8, transcendence, grasping that which she cannot grasp, that she can't grasp it. Understanding we're going to have to tap into covenantal love, 8, rising above limitation. And doing the beautification of 7 beautiful matrimonial garments, doing her own self-work and unburdening for all of her 7 middos. Only then, after she's done all this and tapped into all of these energies, is she marching bravely and confidently with a trach good v'zayin good, think good and it'll be good attitude. That's from the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitch Rebbe, whose yortzeit was just yesterday, the 13th of Nisan. She's marching with this positive attitude to the castle. She's so confident. She's confident she's going to succeed. But there was one more instruction that the wise woman told her to. There's some things that she needed to gather at the castle to bring to the marriage, to bring to the wedding ceremony. And those were a bucket full of lye. I'll explain more what lye is and what that represents. 2 metal brushes to scrub, and some milk, a pail of milk. And so when she arrives at the castle confidently and happily, she asks for these things and they're provided to her. And the wedding is now about to take place at night, as all the other weddings have taken place, the marriage ceremony. And why at night? This is the time of concealment, time of darkness, a time when things are not obvious. It's one thing to sing God's praises, Baboker chastecha, in the morning, your righteousness, your kindness, when everything's hunky-dory. It's another thing to have Ube emunatcha balelot, faith in the darkness, faith in a time of Egypt, a time of gullus, a time of difficulty. Rabbi Joey Rosenfeld, somebody I'm very inspired and motivated and just blown away by, he's got a great podcast called Inward with Rabbi Joey Rosenfeld. I can't recommend it enough. He had a beautiful vort on how does the oral Torah, the oral tradition, the Mishnah start. It starts of when do we sing Hashem's oneness, Kriya Shema, in the night? For Judaism, the day starts in the night when there's concealment, when there's difficulty. This is the most important time to sing Hashem's praises and have emunah, faith, and to see his unity and oneness. And so the woodchopper's daughter is tapping into this, and she's going to the wedding ceremony, and she stands there at the altar with the snake groom, the dragon groom, knowing that he has devoured and made to disappear 12 other brides. They have the ceremony, and the snake groom takes her into the bridal chamber. And sure enough, he wraps his tail around her 7 times. Now we can imagine how intimidating this is, and she sees he's terrifying, but she's unflappable. She's nonchalant about it. She remains stoically committed because she's done her own work. She's taken 8 months and 7 garments, done her own unburdening. And so she's able to bear this. And the snake groom looks at her in the eye, terrifying, intimidating, and says, remove your wedding shirt, take it off. Now we know she's wearing 7. And she says, I will, but only if you take off one layer. The snake groom looks at her and goes, well, fair enough. Nobody's asked me this before, but I'll do that. And so he removes painfully, and in a very difficult manner, but he does, 1 layer of his serpent skin, 1 layer of his klippah, his outer shell, his protectors. And then she reciprocates. She does the same. She takes off a layer, 1 shirt. But then he sees she's got another shirt, and he's angry again. So he says, remove your wedding garment. She says, fine, but only if you do it first. So he takes off another layer, etc., etc., until he's taken off all 7 of his layers, and she's still standing with one shirt. And sure enough, once this snake worm king, this dragon, this terrifying monster, has taken off his 7 layers, she sees that actually the groom is a handsome man. And he's taken off all these layers, and he's exhausted. He's blown away, like he's completely shattered. Because that process of taking rid of those outer layers, those klippot, those protectors, those protector parts, which can be intimidating, terrifying. They've devoured 12 other brides. That is draining work. That is difficult work. That is gut-wrenching work. And he's lying there on the floor exhausted. So now the woodchopper's daughter, she takes the bucket of lye. What is lye? Lye is sodium hydroxide. It is what we make candles and soap, or what they used to make candles and soap with. The way that they used to make it was they would take ashes and mix it with water. And you'd make this mixture. And it can scour the skin. So she takes the bucket of lye and pours it on him and just starts scrubbing with 2 brushes. And she wears out these metal brushes completely. The ashes, the ash water, the lye, represents Asher's work, which Robert Bly talks about a lot in Iron John. Asher's work is a time of going down, going within. It's a time of bitterness and, dare I say, depression, going down. Avram Avinu said, Afar va'efar ani. I am dust and ashes. Coming to terms with our limitations. Sometimes we have to go through this process of extreme downwardness, going into our pain, going into those parts that were thrown out the window of the castle. And if we don't do that willingly, then our parts will pull us down themselves if they're not listened to. Parts that are not listened to, they get louder. And sometimes the only way is to go through a depression. And this depression is long and difficult sometimes, and it can wear out 2 brushes. But it's a necessary process. It's a necessary process. There are 4 things, Robert Bly says, that do not serve a person at sea: a rudder, an anchor, oars, and a fear of going down. This snake groom had never gone down. But with the woodchopper's daughter, he removed the layers and he went down. And he went down into his subconscious. And he did the healing that was necessary. Thereafter, once she scrubbed him good and proper, gone through this process of ashes, this ashes work, the dark night, the black night in Iron John, she throws on milk on him, chesed, loving kindness. You would say forgiveness and understanding. Love and unconditional love and acceptance because of what they've gone through together. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, takes some time, but it's not as long as the 8 months before, they're finally wed. And they live happily ever after. And we can understand from that the other son can get married because this snake king is no longer blocking the way. This, I think, is a tremendous allegory for what it means to get married. That marriage necessarily is about coming to terms with the parts of us, the inner snake groom, the inner worm, that will sabotage the relationship because of the protective parts that are not addressed. It is all of our responsibility to deal with our own parts that do this and to help our partner with their parts that do the same. This is the task. This is the idea of Ezer Kenegdo. The idea of the part Shelo Zachar, what we did not merit. This is Rashi on what does it mean Ezer Kenegdo. Zachar la'azorlo. If you merit, that aspect of your partner will help you. Lo Zachar lilachem bo. What you did not merit, the parts of you that were thrown out from the castle like the snake at birth, in the original part of the story, those parts that did not merit, that's where the conflict will be. And it is a difficult task, but it is a worthwhile task. And then we'll be able to understand the Galus Mitzrayim. Ube'emunatcha v'leilos, to have faith even in the darkness, and to sing God's oneness and prayer, and have a unity with our spouse, even at night, even when things are concealed. I wish you all the best of luck with Pesach, all the best of luck with your relationships. We need to stay hard, we need to stay committed, and we need to stay compassionate. So stay curious, stay Hasidic, and stay connected. Yalla bye, Chag Sameach.